It was the first true day of summer when Emma Carter stepped off the bus in Willow Creek, a town so small it barely earned a dot on the state map. The sun had only just begun to climb the sky, casting a warm, golden hue over the quiet streets and sleepy homes. The air held that unique scent of pine, dust, and distant water, a smell Emma had come to associate with her grandmother's home. She pulled her backpack tighter over her shoulders and squinted down the narrow gravel road, leading up to the house that had once belonged to her great-grandparents. Emma hadn't visited Willow Creek in almost 3 years, not since her grandfather's funeral. The place felt unchanged, yet tinged with a silence that suggested time had marched on quietly without her. At 15, Emma had grown into the kind of girl who noticed the details others often missed. The way the wind tugged differently at a loose shutter, or how the light shifted color just before a thunderstorm. Her mother often called her too dreamy for her own good, but Emma didn't see it that way. She liked noticing things. It made the world feel more connected, more alive. So as she walked past the creaky front gate of her grandmother's house and up the stone path overgrown with moss and weeds, she noticed right away the difference in the air. Something felt unsettled. Not dangerous exactly, but not quite ordinary either. Her grandmother, Nora Carter, was waiting on the front porch with her wide sun hat and a glass of iced tea, just as Emma remembered. Nora was tall, sharp-eyed, and graceful despite her 72 years, the kind of woman who wore pressed blouses even while gardening and had a knack for saying things that stuck in your mind long after you heard them. "Welcome back, Emma Jane," Nora said, smiling gently. "Hi, Grandma," Emma replied, dropping her backpack and stepping up into the warm embrace offered. After a few minutes of small talk and lemonade, Emma was shown to the attic bedroom where she'd be staying, her mother's old room from decades past. The walls were lined with books, boxes, and shelves full of antique trinkets, porcelain figurines, faded photographs in brass frames, and an old phonograph in the corner still stacked with vinyl records. But what caught Emma's attention most was the attic itself. It wasn't a room so much as a large open space with slanted ceilings and creaky wooden floorboards. A single stained glass window overlooked the backyard, sending colored light patches across the floor as the sun moved. Her curiosity sparked the moment she saw the old chest tucked under the window. It was made of dark wood and reinforced with rusted iron bands clearly aged and weathered, yet locked with a small brass latch that looked newer than the rest. The chest intrigued her more than anything else in the room. Emma reached for it instinctively, but her grandmother's voice called out from downstairs before she could explore further. "Emma, would you mind helping me with the garden boxes?" Reluctantly, she left the chest alone and descended the narrow staircase. The rest of the day passed in the slow, gentle rhythm of country life, watering plants, picking vegetables, listening to the distant hum of cicadas, and watching her grandmother expertly trim rose bushes that had been planted before Emma was even born. But even as she worked, her mind kept drifting back to that chest. Later that evening, after dinner and a long bath, Emma found herself wide awake while the house slept. Moonlight filtered through the stained glass, painting soft patterns across her bed. Unable to resist any longer, she slipped out from beneath the quilt and knelt in front of the chest. The latch popped open with a soft click, unlocked. That surprised her. Had it been left like that all this time? Or had someone opened it recently? Inside, the chest was filled with old letters, laced doilies, an embroidered handkerchief, and a leather-bound book wrapped in a silk cloth. Emma pulled the book out gently. It had no title on the cover, only an embossed rose pressed into the dark leather. The edges were worn, and the pages slightly yellowed, but it was clearly cared for. As she unwrapped it, a piece of paper fluttered. To the floor, a torn scrap bearing a single line in faded brown ink. "Find the lantern that never dims." Emma's heart pounded. Something about that sentence sent a shiver up her spine. She turned the book over in her hands. A small brass lock held it shut, no key in sight. She tried pulling gently at the cover, but it wouldn't budge. Frustrated, she flipped through the remaining contents of the chest but found no key. However, one thing became immediately clear. This was no ordinary diary. She scanned the first few pages that were accessible. Notes scribbled in the margins, pressed, flowers flattened between the paper, and intricate symbols drawn with meticulous care. Most of the writing was blocked by the lock, but Emma could make out a name etched on the inside of the front cover. Rose Carter, 1943. Rose Carter, she whispered. That was her grandmother's sister, the one who had gone missing decades ago and was never found. Stories of Aunt Rose were always told in hushed voices. She had been the town's most brilliant student, a dreamer and a scholar, someone who explored the woods and studied stars before most girls her age even thought of leaving their backyards. One day, she simply vanished. Some claimed she ran, off to pursue a life of adventure. Others whispered that she got caught in something far stranger, but no one had ever found her body or belongings. Until now. Emma couldn't sleep after that. She kept the diary under her pillow and stared at the ceiling until the morning light crept in. Over breakfast, she casually asked her grandmother, "Grandma, did Aunt Rose keep a diary?" Her grandmother paused with her fork mid-air. "She did, yes. Why do you ask?" "I just heard her name mentioned in town yesterday. One of the neighbors said she used to explore the woods around here." "Thought that was cool." Nora gave a distant smile, though her eyes betrayed a shadow of something deeper. Regret, perhaps, or grief long buried. Rose was curious. She saw things differently than most people. It frightened some folks. But she had a good heart. Emma nodded, deciding not to press further for now. She needed to understand the diary's contents on her own. She spent the next few days exploring the attic, looking for anything else connected to Aunt Rose. In an old drawer, she found a pair of binoculars and a star map with red circles marked around certain constellations. There were more papers filled, with numbers, sketches of woodland trails, and references to places in town Emma had never heard of before. She took a photo of the note. "Find the lantern that never dims," and began asking subtly around town about the phrase. Most people had no idea what it meant, but at the local antique store, a kind elderly man named Mr. Whitlock raised an eyebrow when she mentioned it. "The lantern, eh? You sure you're not talking about the lighthouse?" Emma blinked. "What? Lighthouse? Old Willow Creek light. Stood at the edge of the lake long before your time. Abandoned now. The lamp's been dead for decades, or so they say. But back in the day it was called the lantern that never dims. Supposedly the light stayed on through every storm. Never failed." Her heart pounded. Could that be the lantern Aunt Rose meant? "Do you know where it is?" Mr. Whitlock chuckled. "Course I do. Grew up climbing that place, but be careful, it's not safe anymore. Place is falling apart." That night, Emma packed a flashlight, the diary, and a snack in her backpack. She didn't tell her grandmother where she was going, only that she wanted to explore the lake for sketches. She followed the directions Mr. Whitlock gave her, biking through town and into the woods until the tree line opened into a rocky clearing. There, standing like a weathered giant against the twilight sky, was the lighthouse. The structure was skeletal, worn by time, vines wrapping its lower walls. The stairs creaked dangerously as she climbed inside, the air thick with dust and cobwebs. But at the top, nestled within the rusted housing of the beacon, she saw it. An old lantern, different from the modern light mechanism. It was tucked off to the side, resting on a wooden shelf, yet still giving off a faint, soft glow, as if lit by something not entirely of this world. Emma's breath caught. It wasn't possible. The lantern was glowing. Dimly, yes, but unmistakably. She reached out and picked it up. It was warm to the touch. Not hot, not cold, just warm, like it had been waiting for her. As she lifted the lantern, she heard something fall behind it. A small object clattered against the metal floor. She knelt and found a brass key, delicate and aged, the kind that might fit perfectly into the diary's lock. Her hands trembled. She clutched the lantern and key close, descending the lighthouse stairs slowly, heart racing with every step. That night, in the safety of her attic room, she inserted the key into the lock of the diary. It turned with a satisfying click and the cover creaked open. The first page was titled in swirling cursive, "The Secrets of Willow Creek" by by Rose Carter. Below it, a sentence chilled Emma to her core. If you are reading this, it means I failed to stop it, but there may still be time.